Ha! I'm a 1000. I'll welcome you back to the channel. And here I'm going to show you a few games that I played. And it's just going to show the highs and lows of chess. Back to playing chess as a 1630. And we're playing as black, and I'm playing my trusty and only black repertoire, the Caracal. Some people hate it, some people don't like it, but look at this. I played the Caracal 423 times and I have a 53% win rate. So why would I change? So here we're playing exchange. So I pin my piece, and really the idea is to focus on developing. And I took here because I didn't want them to move their knight, because moving their knight to this square here attacks my bishop, and I don't want to exchange bishops. I want this knight off the square, off the board, because that knight is super dangerous in the Caracal. So uh, I protect my pawn here, because now here I'm attacked twice, the bishop and the knight. And my arrows are perfect today. Look at that. So they developed their queen, which made no sense. The best move, as the computer is showing, is for them to castle, but they didn't do that. So we continue on. I bring my knight out, check. Um, I think the aim is probably to take this pawn. My opponent is looking for an advantage, so I protected my queen. The computer, as you can tell, wants me to play this move here to block and allow them to take this pawn, but yeah, I'm not up for giving up pawns unless I absolutely have to. So they move back, which again, they're wasting time, really. They should have casted a long time ago. So I develop, taking my bishop up. Generally, you put your bishop here because the opponent has this bishop open to bring it here to pin to my queen. But because everything's not on that square and my opponent is not developing, um, I figured let me put my bishop to a more active square. So castle, and at this point we have equal development, as you can see, but I have more control. As you can see, I've got a 0.7 advantage because I'm controlling this square and this square, I'm controlling this square, and my opponent has, you can't really attack that without losing a piece. So really it's in my control. So I move the knight back and I bring my knight out. So I'm trying to see what forking ideas do I have, how do I attack the queen. So essentially I offer an exchange here. Get the knights out. My opponent takes, which is brilliant because that knight could play defense and attacking at the same time. So I was very happy with that move, yeah. And they attack my bishop. I move back. Really, I was trying to find the best square for my bishop, and I'm thinking sticking to this diagonal here could have future benefits. You never know. So they attack, and I bring my bishop back. I wanted to bring my bishop here, I promise you. But then again, I would have lost to the queen. But anyway, because I didn't want to block in my rook as I did there. So I line up the battery here. My opponent sees it. I expected him to. There are no easy victories when you're 1600. So I move my queen back. They take, I took. I don't know why. Why would I maintain this? Anyway, so I bring my rook to the open, semi-open square, and I'm looking for a way to make advancement in this game, yeah. So here I'm offering a trade, or I take the knight. Is it a knight? Yes, it is. Not the rook. What am I saying? I'm using my knight to take the rook. So they take, and they push through. Game continues. So really, here my opponent is winning, or he's got an advantage because his rooks are developed and they've got a double battery. So I bring my king up because I'm just trying to avoid any situation where they go here and they bring their queen in, and yeah. So now I'm stuck. They're trying to protect. So they bring the other rook. I take, they take, and I go to the semi-open file. My opponent brings the queen down. So here I'm down. Am I down a pawn? We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got equal pawns. It's just that no, I'm down a pawn. They got 7. Look at me, I can't count. You wonder how I got to 1600. Anyway, so I'm down a pawn, and my idea is to try to win a pawn at some point. I guess I should have pushed up, then they can't defend. They can't defend. Anyway, I didn't see it. So, in case you're wondering, the if I shouldn't have played this instead, and you can't defend this pawn. Anyway, that's not how the game went. I move up, and my check was with the discovery. So they bring to offer a swapping of queens. I take, and I take the pawn, take back, and I bring my rook out. So here became a game of who can freeze who in time. And my idea was, even if you come here to try threaten this, I take this with check, and you lose 2 pawns, and you're not stopping these two from promoting. This is where we got to in the game. So they bring their king, I push my king up, because again, losing this pawn is not a problem. As long as we check. So they bring the king up, I check, send him back. And I think at this point, my opponent realized he was essentially stuck, because he made this move, and then I made this move. Neither of us was willing to try anything because there was no clear advantage. We had to be losing. So I offered a draw, and my opponent took it. And the computer really liked this game, because sometimes in chess you just got to realize the game's not going anywhere. And you see, we both played very well. No, I had one miss, which was that tactic I showed you, the queen and the rook, and we both played like a 2100. If only I was a 2100, I'd be super happy. Anyway, let me show you game two. All right, so game two is a bit of a bonus. I played as white. You can tell my rating is not 1254. It's not that I'm 1254, I'm just 1254 in blitz. I didn't feel like playing a rapid game, so I loaded up a blitz game. And I'm playing Scotch Gambit. So there I'm kicking the knight out. So I realized, in as much as they people make like a rating adjustment depending on the time control you're playing, I still feel like even if I'm playing at 1200 in blitz, he's going to play like a 1200. And my opponent here is more focused on taking the pawn. And I had no issues with it. So here I'm just developing. I pinned that knight there. And I guess I should have attacked it, but I took my time. So now they've defended with the bishop, so I kick the knight away, and I bring my knight here. So I'm losing. And what my opponent did was they took me out of my prep, and they played, you know, weird defensive moves, pinning themselves, etc., and all that. And it seems to have worked for them. So I attacked the knight, and they attack my bishop. So I check, moving my uh moving my bishop away from the attack for the pawn here. And the idea is to keep the king in the corner and to see how now I can trap him in the corner there. So now I'm just looking at attacking the pieces that are defending my opponent's position. And so I'm bringing my bishop out, and I'm bringing my knight across. I'm reshuffling. My opponent aims for my knight there, and my rook. So had I played, let's say this for example, not my bishop to a5 here, I'm losing, because if they block with the pawn, I'm not losing, because I could actually gain a pawn, because this is protected and I'll be attacking the queen regardless. But anyway, I moved out the way. My opponent brings to attack my queen. I move my queen out the way, and they attack my piece. And here I move ahead with my plan to attack the queen. They move back. I bring my knight in, so I'm infiltrating. My opponent opted to play this move. Doesn't really do anything, because you can't really kick away my knight with your queen, because you're not taking. So I took the piece because I wanted that piece off the board, and my idea was to play this. So now I'm gaining an exchange, because my opponent has to move the queen, because no sane person sacrifices their queen, and there's no way they can make like a desperate sacrifice in which they get my other piece. So they took, and now we've got a battery, and I'm thinking, get the pieces that are causing me problems off the board. So I push the bishop away, and they have one move. I take the file. You can't do anything but give up the file, and I take the piece because I'm up in exchange, and again I threaten here because my bishop defends. I mean, look at how well coordinated I became in the end. It wasn't planned, wasn't scripted, but I'm glad that it showed that my tactics were better than this person. So now I need to make progress. So I check here, and here my opponent's got very little to go for. So I take the free piece. What's my opponent to do? And again, I check again, hoping, here's the point where there was nothing good on the dark square. So I just move back. And by moving back again, I open the check. Again, the threat still remains. And so I'm swinging my pieces across, and I bring my queen up, offering a queen exchange because I've got a rook. Now I'm up a piece. Not only am I up the exchange, I'm also up a piece. So my opponent wants to keep the queens. I'm like, I said, okay. So I'm thinking, how can I trap that king that's in the center there? So they're pushing pawns for whatever reason, which is where my problem comes in when we play, I know this blitz games and play these lower rated players. Um, so now I'm threatening essentially mate, some sort of I'm threatening forcing moves at least mate. My opponent seems to ignore it for whatever reason. So I took and checkmate. So yeah, this was the end of it. This was a very good game. The computer really liked how I played, yeah. So if I show you here from the game review, I played all right. It says I played with an 83% accuracy, which is funny, which was the same as the other game that we drew. Anyway, and I played like an 1800, which is to be expected. But my opponent obviously had a better opening repertoire. And like I said, they were winning in the opening. Anyway, let me show you the third game, which shows that you don't need a high rating to play terrible chess. All right, folks, it's taken us to this intersection where I played as white. I'm back playing on my account again. So this is the continuation from that 1630 game. And I'm playing the Scotch Gambit. It's a new repertoire I've been playing lately, and I've been enjoying it. So my opponent made this pawn move, and it transposes to the Italian game. Again, I really didn't know what to do, so I said, okay, I take the pawn back. Let's just get things going. And here, the reason why I take and why I'm happy is I have a pawn in the center. I have a bishop developed. I'm ahead of development as I should be as white. So I'm maintaining my lead. So they bring to swap of bishops, and I just check because I want my opponent to create weaknesses in this arena. So I move my bishop back. I can tell the computer didn't like that, but then again, that puts me behind in development because I'm playing around with the same piece more than once in the opening, and I haven't castled. I push to attack. So my thought process here, which was where it was flawed. In my mind, my opponent can't take because it exposes the queen. But thinking about it and looking at it, it just leads to an exchange of queens. Um, so I take the pawn. After he played it, I'm thinking, oh, right. And I didn't want to exchange queens at the time. So they attack my queen. I bring it back because I did spend a bit of time here, 9:03 to 8:38, as you can see, because I was trying to calculate where can my queen go where she won't be attacked again. So this was the best square. And I'm keeping eyes on this knight here. So they bring their queen up, and I bring my bishop back because the queen attacks, protect your pieces. My opponent castled long. I found this to be odd. And I could have won a pawn here. I wonder if I don't think I did. I dared go for it. Check. So again, the only reason why I take is because it's with check, so I can castle because they can move their rook here. Eventually, if they find protection for it. Um, so they move their king across. And I am playing a lot slower because I am thinking, and I'm not saying my opponent's not thinking. They have a minute on me, but I hadn't played chess in a while up to this point, so I was very wary as to what to plan already. it's gone to a position where I'm not too sure. I've got one, two, three unmoved pieces. My opponent's just got the one, two. So I'm behind. Everything's on the back rank, and the only piece that's out is my queen. So it's a very bad position. So they threaten this. Um, sorry, I can't draw. This battery here, and with the help of this knight, I'm going to be losing a piece there. So I bring my bishop out, and my idea is, do you want to exchange? Do you want to lose your queen or not? And my opponent took, and I took with my queen because I'm happy for a queen exchange. My opponent didn't take, and I was like, okay, how do I protect so I'm not down a piece? I don't lose a piece for nothing. So again, I offer the same thing, a queen trade, which might not be the best move in this instance, but we'll check with the game review at the end. So my opponent opts to attack this way. And so I check to get myself out of that position. And I played this move. So again, when you attack, don't lead with your queen because now I've blunted my opponent's attack. There's nothing they can do. Well, they can take the pawn, but I'm not losing a vital piece. So I protect my knight, and they bring their knight across. And I was very wary because I wasn't too sure, am I about to lose to some tactic? So I bring my knight out because that's the only place I can move my knight without losing. The square is guarded, the square is guarded, and this square seemed useless. So I'm prepared to lose this pawn. My opponent checked, and I took with my queen, and my opponent did this. And I think in my opponent's mind, I take this way. But if I take this way, I lose my piece to check. But I took this way. And when I did this move, my opponent took a while. It was one of the longest times I actually took to play a move, I think. It must be. Took them about 18 seconds, I think. Because, yeah, it took them about 18 seconds before they played this check. And my opponent's down a piece. So this is when I realized, oh, I'm winning and quite handsomely. So now the idea is not to lose in the sense that, you can't make any stupid moves and to avoid any checks that, skewer because this always is dangerous, when there's a rook in the middle, especially when they can control certain files. But right now, the D file, these rooks are all staring at each other. Um, and so they take, and maybe I should have taken a check. But anyway, I took this piece, and I think my opponent, yes, it is mate in one. So I missed mate in one. Did you see that, folks? This is mate in one. And even when I reviewed it after I played it, I didn't see this. I'm only seeing it now. Anyway, I took the piece and I made a space for my king so my king can hide in the corner. They just have a rook, so I'm very happy. They push, attacking my pieces, and I decide to offer an exchange, protecting everything. They check. I move my king back like I had planned earlier, so I made that opening. And my opponent moves to here. Again, this is now attacking with tempo. And this is where they lose. So this, funny enough, I did see this tactic where if they're not going to the bank rank, that's the end is mate in two. Because this square is guarded by my knight and the king cannot go here. So if my piece can go here and block here and put a check in the king here, I win. This I did see after missing mate in one. And I'm very glad that my opponent let the checkmate happen. But also, I'm happy I didn't see that mate in one. Because had I seen it, I'd have been flustered that I missed it and might have ended up making a stupid move and stop thinking. But anyway, that's chess for you. And when you look at the game review, when it decides to load up, I played terribly. 55% accuracy. I had three blunders, and my opponent only had the one. But chess is the one is won by those who don't make the blunder that leads to checkmate, I guess. So yeah, and my blunders included this bishop move here. What was the other blunder? Yes, again, moving this pawn. I did explain this in my mind. The queen, this pawn can't take because of the queen, but this is just simply an exchange, and I'm down a pawn for nothing. So, and what is my final blunder? This was my opponent's blunder. Where's my third one? He said I made three. Oh, yes, it's back. Yeah. This was a blunder. What's the tactic? Let's see. Take. Yep. Okay. I would have been down in exchange. Okay. Okay. Anyway, my opponent didn't see that. We were playing terribly. I was playing terribly. And I had a look through my opponent's profile after this game and realized they're like on an 8 game losing streak. So I just added to that. So thank you again for watching. Thank you for following. And please do subscribe and like for more chess content. We'll see you all.